Hello everyone and welcome back to Infinity Games and a happy new year to you all. I can't believe that this is actually happening because, okay, so over the last few years I have occasionally brought up my, shall we say, distaste for Breath of the Wild. It's rather ironic because when I got my Elgato I'd actually I was still relatively in love with this game, but as time's kind of gone on, I've kind of come to the conclusion that it is not all it's cracked up to be. So, the problem is, too many people think I'm just bad at the game, and so I'm choosing to prove them wrong by playing Master Mode. There's a problem with Breath of the Wild fans where they don't seem to like criticism of the game. And as a lifelong Zelda fan, I'm going to tell you now that there is a lot of criticism of this game to be had, both as a Zelda game, as a game in and of itself, and as a symptom of a wider problem in the industry. I'm saying this now about 6 hours into Sonic Frontiers. I finally picked it up for the PS5. I'm actually now playing my games with a PS5 controller while I'm here. So, that's an interesting one. The other thing that you should probably know is that I have modded quite heavily Breath of the Wild to be more to my taste visually. Yes, I'm using the Linkle mod. What are you going to do about it? So, without further ado, let's get started. Bit of the music overall. The funny thing is, like, I was really excited for this game, and then I played it, and I noticed even then that there were problems with it. The thing is, I convinced myself that it was nothing and that I was fine with it. I think I'm done pretending to be fine with it. The thing is, it's not just that I don't want change. I think the beauty of the Zelda formula is that it's very adaptable. It's very changeable. You can kind of alter it to fit whatever game you're doing. Hence why Wind Waker and Twilight Princess work so well. They switch up the formula to include boats and wolves. Yeah. I don't think Breath of the Wild did the right thing. The right thing for the Zelda franchise was not making it open world. At least not in the way they did it. You see, progress barriers are a good thing, and I think we should always remember that. This was actually supposed to start in Zelda month. I was just incredibly busy. I will also point out now, yes, I screwed up with the Christmas videos. I'm sorry. I've been way too busy. And then I came back home and, well, it's a wonder that I'm filming this now. And even then it's mostly because I want to be done before. I will point out that there is a little bit of, like, emulation stuff going on with this.
That is a Sheikah slate. Take it. It will help guide you after
Interesting.
your long slumber.
Okay. Just wanna do a general settings thing. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't... Okay. That should stop it from doing things it's not supposed to do. I don't want the message showing up on the screen. Ooh. Okay. Huh? Okay. Dragon Quest content in here too. I'd completely forgotten that I did this. Okay. Nah, I think I'll stick to what we're supposed to have right now. Right, so. This is going to be a rather difficult playthrough because of the obvious. I haven't played Breath of the Wild in quite some time. It's been about 6 months since the last time I messed about on the game. Ironically, in Zelda month 2021, I was supposed to do a Breath of the Wild stream, but it didn't happen because of issues with Semu that I was having. Couldn't tell you the cause of them now, but I did fix them, evidently. But
Link,
yeah.
you are the light.
Also, it feels wrong playing this game on a PlayStation controller,
Ever must shine upon
and I've
thy rule
played it
once
on
again.
a PlayStation controller for longer than I've played it on a Switch controller. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if I could estimate that. I spent quite a bit of time on the game when I first modded it. I am aware that there's a randomizer for Breath of the Wild, it's just not a very good one. Obviously. Even if we weren't doing constant digs at Breath of the Wild. By the way, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful game. I never denied it. The art style is one of the better Zelda art styles. I'm not all it has to be realistic. I have never believed that. Wind Waker was my most wanted Zelda game from the age of 2. Because of the 20-minute demo on the Collector's Edition. As I think I have mentioned once. And actually Wind Waker is one of my favourite games of all time, alongside Majora's Mask and well, Majora's Mask and Link to the Past are probably the obvious ones. I think... Okay, here's the thing. I actually think they had something relatively workable with Breath of the Wild. I think there are ways they can improve on it, to the point that it's not going to be an issue. The issue that I have with it is I don't like the total lack of progression. You know, the only progression you really get is you get extra health and you get extra stamina. That isn't enough. It's a Zelda game. Cheers, mate. Cheers. But yeah, I don't... As a Zelda fan, I wouldn't say I find the game offensive as such, because I think it's pathetic when people start getting on their soapbox like that. I get the feeling there's a Korok. Nah. Whatever. Koroks are also done, but everyone knows that by now. Okay. Don't care.
Link. Head for the point on the
I do
map.
like the voice acting in this game. I think it was a very good addition. That isn't one of the changes to the Zelda formula that I disagree with. The changes that I disagree with are the bigger changes to the formula, such as no fixed path, no dungeon items, and, well, ultimately the fact that Link feels stagnant throughout the game, and I don't like that. And yet it makes it easier to reset Link in the sequel, which, as much as they claim it wasn't planned, they were always going to do a sequel to the most overhyped game in history. Well, it's not. The most overhyped game in history is probably going to go to one of the games that was hyped that turned out to be actually bad, as opposed to just a shit game in its series. There is an important difference that I think the gaming community needs to recognise. If your game is blatantly disrespectful to its series source material, then that makes it not a good part of the series. Whereas it can still be a good game in its own right. Whereas, take for example, Cyberpunk 2077 wasn't good within the realms of its own series. I will say that I have modded in relatively powerful items, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get rid, for the time being, as I think it actually does kind of screw up the balance of the game. I'd forgotten they were in here, and I think I'm going to just, as a challenge for myself more than anything. Ah, fuck. Alright, you. Okay. Okay. I will say, I am going to try and be as fair as I can to this game. This year I've promised myself that things that I hate, that a lot of people love, I'm going to be as fair as I can to and give them what I'm going to call a proper trial. For example, the Snyderverse of DC. I think it's pathetic that its fanbase can't fucking let go of it, but I'm going to be absolutely fair to that this year and finally give it a proper fair crack. So that is one of the things that I have planned for this year. Not necessarily for YouTube, but like on a personal note. I don't really like reviewing movies. I know I did Avatar a few weeks ago, but like that was because I was walking home in the dark and I figured it was probably a good thing to do. To be honest, trying to go up there right now is pointless. But yeah, thing is, like I say, initially I really loved Breath of the Wild, and actually for a while I was on the same side as Breath of the Wild's most hardcore fans. I didn't agree with the DDoSing sent to Jane Stephanie Sterling, but I did agree with basically the amount of abuse being sent to a lot of other creators. Didn't even know who Sterling was at the time. It wasn't until until the Battlefront 2 scandal that I knew anything of them. And my first impression of them was him laughing like a maniac, and suddenly something clicked in my brain, like, oh, I know this person, I remember that happening. And I looked into them, and I remembered the whole Breath of the Wild situation. Oh, shit. Oh, I hate you. While we're at it. Okay, that's another one down. But yeah, honestly, Master Mode takes things to extremes a little bit, but I think that was kind of the idea. You know, it's designed for people that had played hundreds of hours of the first game. And actually, there was a whole thing in 2019 where this was the game I used to try and get a new person into the series, because she'd asked me to try and get it into Zelda. She'd seen me talk about it a gazillion times, and she wanted to see what I loved so much about it. In retrospect, I think I was kind of an idiot to set her up with Breath of the Wild, because despite one of my other friends' opinions, I stand by the fact that it's a pretty bad Zelda. Having the most luck with the axe. Can't let him do that. Shit. Get up. Get up and fight. The stamina wheel was another thing that I'm a bit mixed on. I think it was probably necessary to add a layer of timing to some things. And in fact, because Breath of the Wild has a pretty crap system for like exploration in which you can just climb anything, I don't agree with that, by the way. I really just don't think they should have done that. Okay, that's another one down. Save. Ooh, there is a golden line on plateau, so I'm going to need to make sure that I don't run into that. But yeah, no, I really take issue with. I really take issue with Breath of the Wild as a Zelda game in general. And I know that that's a controversial opinion to take, but I don't care. As I've tried to explain to people a million times, there is no objectivity in media, and I don't think that I should be beholden to the popular consensus. Like, don't get me wrong, I probably used things are popular for a reason as an argument a few too many times in my life. Or, this thing gets enough hate for a reason, just because I happen to agree with the popular consensus. But like, I've been trying to move away from that, because I actually do believe that it's harmful to discussions on media to just boil things down to what's popular. You know, everyone's opinions vary. there's no objectively correct standpoint to take on these things. And I think that it's vital that communities stop doing that to media discussions. I need to get out of here. Ah, shit. I knew someone had seen me. Fuck. No, 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 no. Can't let that happen. Come on. No, 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 no. Okay, so yeah, I don't like Breath of the Wild. I think its dungeons are embarrassing, to be honest. I think everything about the game is just wrong. And like I say, I know that that's not the popular stance to take, and I know that even just playing the game on YouTube, if this is to get attention, then that's going to get me quite a bit of hate. But I don't care. I really don't. I think the weapons are disgraceful. I think weapon degradation is a system best left to Dark Souls. Zelda isn't a survival game, it's an action-adventure game, and we should bear that in mind. I don't agree with the idea of change for change's sake, is what I'm trying to get at. I didn't like The Last Jedi. I don't like The Force Awakens, for that matter. I don't like the Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who. I particularly disliked Series 11 for its bold new direction, aka killing the past for no reason. And that's a less controversial standpoint to take. But no, I don't like a lot of things because of the fact that they take what worked about a previous thing and throw it out. I think when you're part of an established series, you have a responsibility to kind of maintain that identity a bit. Like, obviously you can have some leg room. Like, no one's asking for a totally derivative piece of work, but you know, and I have been known to have more positive standpoints on media that a lot of people don't like. I love Skyward Sword. Took me years to get to that point, but I love it. I liked The Last of Us 2, as I was on record of saying. Admittedly, I didn't get all the way through my video diaries, as it was an incredibly stupid format to take.
Now then, you must hurry, Link.
I don't like most Sonic games. I don't, and I've even soured a little bit on the adventure games a little bit. Well, Adventure 2. But I think that might be because the versions I've been playing are quite buggy. Yeah, I did enjoy you know, I enjoy the Doctor Who TV movie, which actually I think, based on my plans for this year, we do need to actually have a discussion about at some point. Because I have now dubbed this the year of McGann. I'm going to be going through every single piece of McGann media, I'm hoping, because that's an extremely long task. I don't think I'll do all of it individually. Like, I think, for example, hang on. As usual, I've got props to either side. I think the Doctor Who Adventures, no, the Doctor Who magazine comic strip with McGann's Doctor leading it is one such example of a series I'm going to tackle without I think I'm going to tackle large chunks of it as opposed to just small little bits. Here we go. But yeah, I don't like Breath of the Wild. That's what this series is going to be about, really. But not just that, but it'll be about me playing Breath of the Wild. We need to get through it by May before Tears of the Kingdom, which I might do a video series on. I might not. I don't know. When I'm playing a new game, I don't like being bound to a series format. I think it's very, very hard to be upfront about a game when you're trying to give your thoughts about it. Whereas with Breath of the Wild, I have actually played it enough to do that, because I know the world of this game. I know pretty much everything. You could get down there easily. But yeah, no, I don't, like I said, I don't like being negative. I can't help the fact that I think Breath of the Wild is probably the worst 3D Zelda. And yeah, people have scorned at that before. Like, they really don't like that. I'm very unapologetic about that. Yeah, instead of throwing myself into certain death, maybe take another path. I have actually modified the controls a little bit to fit a PlayStation controller as opposed to a Nintendo one, because, well, you know, it's just a better way of doing it, really. Like, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against a Pro controller. I have a little bit against a thingy controller, whatever it's called. I have quite a bit against a Joy-Con. Yeah, I think they're poorly made drivel. And it's another one of those things that I just don't apologise for thinking. I think that they're terribly made. Like, good God, what were they thinking? But yeah, so it really is a shame that I dislike Breath of the Wild because, well, it gets me a lot of abuse online. I didn't like that it was winning the music thing from a Zelda dungeon poll. I thought that was a scandal when the opposition was Cadence of Hyrule, Link to the Past, and Skyward Sword. All three games having significantly better soundtracks. That's another thing. I don't like ambient music. I think it's dreadful. Well, not dreadful, I just think it's dull. I don't mind the occasional bit of ambience, like, take for example, I'm trying to think of the right example of this. Ambient music. There's definitely been some before. Like, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, and you know what? I have better things to do than think of it off the top of my head. Oh, shit. Okay. Bring you over there so that I can step up high enough to reach that. Magnesis. Like, I like the runes that we got. I just think that runes should have continued to be an asset throughout the game that you continue to acquire, as opposed to a thing that stopped after the Great Plateau, say for a camera that you'd never actually need to win something. Well, very few things. But the problem is it was against the game's ideology of you can go anywhere you want from the very beginning, which I don't think is a good ideology for any game to have. You know, the first Zelda, which everyone is like, oh, the first Zelda did it. Yeah, no, it didn't. It really didn't. Like, you could go anywhere in that world, but you were still bound by what items you had. You still needed items to win. You couldn't just rock up to, take for example, Turtle Rock, I think it's called, and expect to win with very few things. Like, you could do it, it was just going to be really fucking difficult, like, ridiculously so, and even then it was because keys were shared across the entire game. So therefore, rooms you'd need items to destroy things in order to get a key. You didn't actually need the item, because you could get a key from, for example, in, I should know the name of the first dungeon. Was it the Eagle? I don't think it was the Eagle. The first dungeon of the first Zelda. You could walk in and walk out and walk back in, and the door to the left that was locked initially would no longer be locked, which saves you a key for the rest of the game. If you know useless doors, you can have so many spare keys. That was the genius of the first Zelda, which I think that they should remake the first Zelda properly. Like, I think that they should. Like, in the Link to the Past style. I think that they should. I don't know, I don't like the way that they did do things, like, in this. You know, I shouldn't be able to just rock up to the Rito village and not have an item. That's not Zelda, like. And I guess I do have a little bit of a problem, like, dealing with the fact that this is what Zelda is probably going to be going forward, because too many people liked this. I'm going to say bastardization, I don't mean something quite that harsh. Like, I think it's a bad move for the formula of such an iconic series to start chucking it out and instead replacing it with what I find to be incredibly generic. And actually, it's quite symptomatic of the game industry as a whole nowadays, because too many games think they need to be open world. Okay, so when I was a kid, me and my friend used to meet in the playground before school. I was a kid at a relatively obvious point once you hear this story, like, and we would sit there on our Samsungs and we'd play on, I think it was Moopin we used, and I'd gotten him into Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask by some miracle. But the thing is, my friend kept on whinging about how much he only wanted to play open world games. Now here's the thing, open world games are pretty fucking lazy most of the time. Like, you have your gems like The Witcher, but even then, you don't really, do you? They're not that great. Like, don't get me wrong, The Witcher 3 is brilliant, but like, it's very formulaic for an open world game, and I don't see anything wrong with formulas. In fact, in the words of Mike Myers in Bohemian Rhapsody, I like formulas. Never doing that again. But the problem that you start to run into is the formula of the Zelda series is its identity. You know, you can do so much with that formula that it's not as though we're running out of ideas in the Wii. No, the problem is that Miyamoto had a very specific idea, and for some reason we were beholden to him. And actually, the more I hear about Miyamoto and Zelda, the more I'm glad that he doesn't really get involved in it anymore. Because Miyamoto has ruined Zelda games on numerous occasions, and I don't think he should be allowed in. Like, yeah, it's his series, but he's not very good at the whole game design thing anymore, and in fact, he is responsible for some of the worst things in the series. Like crossbow training, which I think was an abysmal idea. Especially considering what it was supposed to be. Twilight Princess 2. Like, I think if we were to unchain ourselves from Link as a protagonist for a game or two, but still have the same gameplay, we could have a game set around, say, Colin from Twilight Princess, who was set up as the Link protege. You know, he's the kid who idolises everything Link does. The sun actually shines from Link's arse in Colin's eyes. And I think that is a perfect standpoint for a new protagonist. It'd be a more story-based game, but yeah, it would be an interesting take on the world of Twilight Princess, and I think that that's definitely something worth looking at. Torch, more arrows, another bow. Like, there are things I like about Breath of the Wild. I think the world is promising. I think there's another problem with open world games that I don't like, and that is their tendency to be post-apocalyptic. This is so they don't have to come up with a bustling world of NPCs, and so they can justify the ridiculous amount of open space. And I know, I've just praised Twilight Princess and stuff, and I go on and moan about open space. I know that people think that that's hypocritical. It's not. It's really not, because Twilight Princess isn't trying to have that big open world. I think it's more because the stuff you have to do in the villages of Twilight Princess, and say, for example, Hidden Village, is better, so it then, obviously, exceeds Breath of the Wild. Whereas if the main story of Twilight Princess wasn't so damn endearing, I'd probably think Twilight Princess was as bad as Breath of the Wild in terms of world. Like, I think that the open world in Breath of the Wild is promising. Is my point. Like, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's as good as it ought to be, being a Zelda world. And I think I've been justified in that recently. As even, okay, so to use an example of a game that I'm really enjoying, because I think it actually benefits from the open world formula. Sonic Frontiers. Sonic Frontiers, unlike Zelda, is an example of why Sonic needed to be open world from a very long time ago. And actually, like, they were trying to do this from the very start of its 3D world. Oh, shit. I don't have the stuff for that. I don't have the stuff to deal with a stone talus right now. I must be mental. Gotta be very, very careful while escaping. Like, there are a variety of issues with Breath of the Wild. I don't think other Zelda games have. And, you know, this isn't... The aim of this series isn't to slag off Breath of the Wild, just so we're clear. I actually am giving it a fair re-evaluation before its sequel comes out. Because I am a huge Zelda fan. I always have been. I have been since childhood. You know, I have been since the beginning of my childhood. And I just want what's best for the series I have always loved. I just disagree with everybody else on what's best for the series, because, to be completely honest, I don't think anyone else has a clue. Well, I do think other people have a clue. I think my friend Mannix, good old Josh, has a clue. If you hadn't worked out, he's pretty much the exact same as me on things like this. You know, doesn't like Breath of the Wild, really likes Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. I do think that Ocarina of Time is a product of its time, by the way. I judge it based on what it was able to do based on the hardware, as opposed to what it can do in comparison to what today can do. And like, okay. Okay. Come on. Come on. Now I just need you to not heal. Cobbling arm. Okay. That went well. Wonderful. So, yeah, no. I'm trying to think of what I was trying to get at before I had to deal with every other thing. Yeah, as you can see, Linkle has her own narration in one of the mods that I've done. When did you get here? Huh. Okay. Right, time to carry on the game. These episodes are going to be quite long each. I don't think I can avoid that. It's Breath of the Wild, not... to be honest, gameplay videos are very hard to get to be as short as one would hope when making them. I don't think I can. I don't think I'm very good at doing short videos. But yeah, no. Yeah, the world of Breath of the Wild shouldn't have been post-apocalyptic in my opinion. Or in the memories, which, by the way, we're getting to the whole memories storyline thing. I don't think the story should have been... No, wait, no. I think that, effectively, if we had to have a storyline about memory, then that storyline should have had playable flashbacks. But what I was trying to get at before is the memory storyline. So it has been my experience that open world games, to justify not giving you all of the map to begin with, and there are exceptions such as Spider-Man 2018, there has been a bit of a tendency to make sorry, I need to focus on not dying as well. Come on. Spike Poker Club, that will really help. Okay. Okay, Bokobo. Okay. Right. Oh, you annoying little fucker. Okay, that went vaguely well. Well, I didn't die, so... So yeah, I don't like Amnesia storylines. I think in an open world game they're an incredibly lazy way of avoiding giving a map to a player. This wasn't the case in Spider-Man 2018, but Spider-Man 2018 was a very unique game. First of all, I think that any game set in New York has to be open world. It's just the only way it can be done. Okay. Okay. I really need to fix my monitor at some point. The one monitor on my desk consistently has issues with being with basically the feed cutting out, the video feed cutting out on it. Okay. But yeah, so if you think that it's just a lack of desire for things to change, that isn't why I don't like Breath of the Wild. I don't like Breath of the Wild because of the fact that it's basically very generic, in my opinion. It's how I sum up all of this. I think, to be honest, I don't think the late 2010s were media's best anyway. I think the priorities surrounding media changed, and not for the better. Wonderful. I'm now weaponless because of the fact that I can't just let it go. Just break. Come on. Break. Ooka, 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 ooka. Nothing in there. I've wasted a lot on that. Including the most valuable of all things, time. So, yeah, no, I don't think... So, yeah, no, Breath of the Wild. It's not a bad game. It's not. It's got a superb physics system, and I've always said this. I think the physics engine is phenomenal in the game. I think it needs to be standardised, effectively, because that is how you do physics in an open world game. You know, if I'm playing an open world game and I can't set things on fire, what are you doing with your life? I should be able to set things on fire. To be honest, this is my biggest problem with open world games. My biggest problem. I know I've just listed like several problems and claimed they're big, but like, if I can't destroy my environment in an open world game, take Red Faction for example. That's why I love Red Faction so much. Oh shit. I remember the first time I ran into one of these fuckers. I'm just gonna run behind here and save because there's no way I'm gonna get out of this single-handedly, because in master mode they intentionally delay a little bit before they oh shit. Yeah, we have another problem. We have an immense problem. Guardian problem. Okay, that's the sort of thing I like about this game. You can scramble over like fences and stuff trying to escape your enemy. That's nice. I like that. I actually really like Guardians as an enemy. I think that they were a very good addition to the series, and I've always thought that. But I don't think that they were good enough to warrant being pretty much the only thing that the game did right, in my opinion. Like, okay, no, that's unfair. That is incredibly unfair, but like, the Guardians are the thing that were done most right. I do have access to every amiibo created up to a certain point on here, but I'm not going to use them just yet. I'm going to play the game as God intended. So I'm not even going to activate my amiibo rune. Like, it'll be sat there because I activated it before, because when I play solo I just do whatever the fuck I want. I've beaten the game before and it really doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah, no, I don't like... But yeah, no, I'm trying to think... Just repeating I don't like Breath of the Wild is just because it get me hated on. So, that isn't what I'm trying to get at here. That worked. I like that there's more than one way of solving a puzzle. Like, I like that I can cheat my way through puzzles occasionally. But I don't like how often I can do that. Like, beating it my way is not the way it should be. Like, that... The only way that I don't mind exploits so much is when those exploits lead me to... is when those exploits are encouraged in games like Master Quest. Like, that... Taking the system, like the controls and everything of Ocarina of Time and turning them into more like and basically allowing you to take what you've learned and use it in a more unconventional way, such as how Master Quest does things. Need to work out where this goes before I do anything else. Okay. There should be a place for it. Like, if I fly over there, that just takes me over to... Okay. What's the point in this orb? Okay. I think that there was actually another idea for this dungeon. Well, this shrine. By the way, when people say that Breath of the Wild has proper dungeons because it has shrines, they're talking out their arse. They don't count. Never did. Just want to make that incredibly, unmistakably clear. I don't even think that the Breath of the Wild's shrines are worth talking of in the same vein as dungeons from Zelda. Also, people that hate on Majora's Mask only hate on it because of the time cycle. I'm just saying, that is what happens when you only hate a game because you're not very good at it. Not me hating Breath of the Wild because of the fact that it's not what I'm looking for in a Zelda game. I think that it's incredibly petty to look at it like that. Like, don't get me wrong, you can feel however you feel about this game. I'm not going to enforce a viewpoint, but I do fully believe that the way people look at Zelda has been tarnished by this game. Like, this game was my cousin's first Zelda. They will always look at Zelda as that series that's open world now. Why? Because the Switch happened to do well. Here's the thing. My viewpoint is that Breath of the Wild wouldn't have done nearly as well, commercially or critically, had it have been on the Wii U as planned, like solely on the Wii U. People like this game because for a long time it was the only game on the Switch. It isn't the perfect 10 out of 10 that the internet claims it is, in my opinion. In fact, it is more like a 6. Possibly a 7 if I were feeling nice. Need to avoid that Lionel. White Lionel. That turns gold later. Very dangerous. Okay. Sorry, I know that I stop talking whenever I'm trying to run away from something. And that's because, well, I'm playing hard mode. I've got to be incredibly careful. I cocked it up. I cocked it up. However, I do think that this is probably a good place to stop it for now, because I don't think that sitting here and struggling to deal with a million different situations is actually helping my case. But more to the point, I don't want to sit here talking for hours on end because it does hurt my throat. So yeah, clocking it at about an hour long. This was my first video on Breath of the Wild. Happy New Year, people. I cannot believe that I'm actually finally doing this.